Hello again, and welcome back to the Automating Everything series. Since the last episode, I've actually gotten quite a few things done. I've just kind of been distracted playing the game and not really thinking about recording much of it. And I kind of want to just switch the format to being less so about in-progress process updates, more or less, and more so just kind of showing what I've made. That way I can do kind of more per episode without having too many things going on. Right here I have a little kitchen just so I can make foods. Over here I made a little garage just for fun because there's a mod in here that adds some pretty neat looking cars. And I've made a little garage door which goes out here. And as you can see, we have paths here. Now, one thing I will note is, you can see in the top left, the frames for a second here are not very good. It's because I have a mod installed that will basically render the LODs of like further chunks. It looks pretty nice. I'm debating whether I want to keep it around though because of the lag. And I was actually considering updating the RAM on my computer to get more RAM so then I could actually probably run Minecraft a bit better. Anyway, since last time I mentioned wanting to automate andesite, and down here I have created the full thing. This took quite a bit of effort. It's actually convenient. This happens to be working right now. I decided to go with the method of using gravel and flint and lava as opposed to the quartz method, just because it's easier. And then for generating the lava, what I have is just a bunch of these down here. A bunch of dripstone, and I can add more. I've got plenty of space to add more. In fact, there's some lava that it just generated. It gets pumped out up into this buffer tank essentially, so that it can get pumped into the basin here to make the andesite. Back here, it's just crushing the gravel, or crushing. I have a small cobblestone generator here. If I go down here, I have a drawer with a void upgrade. So basically, I had a while where I was trying to figure out, because I didn't want this to get backed up in any way. So it'll basically keep generating cobblestone, but it'll just get voided if it's made extra. The cobblestone goes down onto the conveyor belt through here, through the crushing wheels to make gravel, which then goes through this brass tunnel, which will sort it between these two belts. That far belt just goes straight to our basin over there, while this closer belt goes into a millstone, which can make flint. Now we also have a secondary belt here, which can take flint from over there. I might remove this because it's kind of not necessary, and I've added just a void upgrade to that flint anyway, so I don't know. It might be nice to remove this to save resources, but point is, it's making flint and gravel, which then gets pumped into here. So really the rate limiting step here is the production of lava, since it's basically dependent on random ticks here. But yeah, it's not too difficult overall. I managed to keep it within the sort of 5-block wide thing, except for the lava generation down here. There's not really much of an option I could do to keep that compact. So I mean, there's space here, just I can't really go down with it much. I also added a stone generator here. It's pretty much a cobblestone generator, but with an additional fan that blows lava over these to blast it into stone, which then just gets sent up. Fairly simple overall. So yeah, that's the main two things I've worked on off camera here. Let me actually go ahead and sleep, and I forgot my scaffolding down there. So up here, I haven't done the canopy yet. I'm probably going to do that at some point here, but we'll see. And I also need to figure out what I want to put here, because I'm not entirely sure. I made a little path here made of this cobbled andesite from Stoneworks. Stone, gravel, rocky stone. And it looks pretty nice. So let me put this car back, actually. This is just connect to a wireless button, actually, which I can, or wireless redstone, which I can show down here. So if I go over here, I ended up using the gantries for this, actually. So I just have a gantry attached to the door here, which you can see there's a redstone link there, which when I push the button, it toggles a toggle latch thing, which will basically determine whether it goes up or down. So yeah, and I can press this button and I'll run through it actually, so I can stay out here. But yeah, it looks pretty nice. Now you may have noticed I actually did also complete more of the house here. Let me hop up a bit. I finally determined what I wanted to use for the walls, and I'm using, it's called Jacaranda wood from Biomes of Plenty. It's like a very light, pale pink. And I think it looks very good with this build. And I'm using like some smooth logs and planks sort of mixed together to just give it some texture. And then I'm using mahogany wood for the floor of the next level. And then of course teak planks. I'm still working on the interior as of yet, but it's getting there. It's still a very slow progress project, and like I've completed more of that half than I have this side. And I still need to rip up my old create stuff and move it around, but yeah. Final thing of note that I did here is I actually did end up switching out the palette on this. I think it looks pretty good with this palette. The old palette just didn't quite match its actual purpose, I think, so giving it this more just kind of vanilla spruce and oak, but I am using like some oak tiles from Ray Chiseled and then just stripped oak kind of mixed to give it some sort of paneling texture. And then inside here it looks much brighter now with that, but yeah. I also replaced the windows with white glass instead of the original red glass panes that they were because it fits a bit better. One small thing I added was at the end here, I added a void upgrade to the sticks, or the twigs here, but so then extra saplings, acorns, and eventually apples, once this fills out, will be just sent straight into a composter so it can make bone meal for me. That's been extremely useful when I've been trying to farm various trees in my little plain here. But yeah, that's basically all the changes I've made, I believe, since last time. Now, as for other things to automate, it's difficult to decide. I also added another mod called Malum, which it reminds me a lot of Thaumcraft almost in a way, and it looks pretty cool. I will have to generate new chunks for that, but I can worry about that off camera. Which reminds me, I also did do some exploring out here. It seems that this sort of far site, I don't know what to call it, does actually make it so that chunk generation is less laggy. It still causes some lag, but it's not as laggy as it was before. Yeah. Other things I did sort of between now and the last episode. One thing is I actually went to a sort of castle, which is, if I pull out a spyglass, I think you can just see it. You look through here. Let me get closer. Yeah, you can just barely see the outline of a castle there. And it's right down here. I actually went and explored that some, and I have some footage from that. It was a scary experience, to say the least. Some creature somewhere. Not entirely sure where. Hear it though. I don't think that's Piglin. Oh, hello. Oh. What do you mean, raid? Oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Yeah, this is, get out of here. It's time to get out of here. Nope, no, 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 no. Panicking. Okay. No, no, you're not nobody. I don't care who you are. Okay, this one just really wanted to kill me. Okay, now I can deal with them from here. They really need to just... These things are so goddamn annoying. How are there more? What? Alright. Back to what I was doing. I literally went there just to get an anvil. There's still more coming. Oh, come on, dude. Alright, I've got to get out of here. Alright, so I also just spent a bunch of time gathering a bunch of Eyes of Ender. It was actually a lot more annoying than it might sound. And I went on this big adventure all the way over here to the dungeon. So I now have access to the end here. If I go over here, I can just pop into my waystone and go to the end portal. Now, I don't know if I want to do that this time around. I think I will... It's not... I mean, everyone's seen the end dragon fight. It's not going to be anything crazy. So I might just do it off camera. I want to get access to Elytra, though, because it'd be nice to fly around. I know I have jetpacks, but I tend to prefer just the Elytra flight, just because it's already in the game, and it feels nicer than just effectively creative flight. So yeah. We at least have access to the end portal now. But before we do that, I would like to... I was thinking about what next to automate here. And it's rather difficult to decide because there's so many things we could do. But I think the most useful resource for us right now would be to automate iron. Now, a very common way to automate iron in Create is to use, let's see here, when using gravel and washing gravel, you can get a 12% chance at an iron nugget. Now, that sucks. It's not a very quick way to get iron. So I'm thinking we'll go a more traditional route with a golem-based farm. So I shall go ahead and start working towards that. Let me double check here though. There might be some other way. I'm trying to find iron. I cannot find it. But it's looking like, yeah, here I think our best bet is to go based on golems. It's not listed here as a drop. So I might have to test that before I go do it. But yeah. Think we'll want to have it relatively nearby. I actually was thinking a lot about the whole world here, and I think I had the idea of like different sort of regions will have like effectively distribution centers. So like if I have an iron farm, say here, it could have a train eventually that can go to whatever distribution center is here, and then from there any iron that any farms near there need can be sent to those. So that way we can make effective use of our iron farm. But yeah, I think I'll put it somewhere over here and give it a chunk loader just to make sure it's constantly loaded. I'm leaning towards making one of the more efficient ones, but I want to kind of look at the mechanics myself, see how iron golems spawn, and then from that I can figure out how I can design a building around it as well, because it's not just going to be an open farm. As these other builds have shown, the whole idea of the series is both building and automating, because building is the other favorite thing of mine in this game. So yeah. Speaking of which, I think we'll also try to put a custom tree here in front of the house to like cover that sort of corner there, and it provides some nice nature right here. So I think I'll start working on that first, and then we'll go to make iron. So with this series, I would also kind of like to go into building sort of tips and tricks and whatever else. For designing this custom tree here, it's useful to use some other block, in this case I'm using cobblestone, to sort of template out what this tree will look like before you actually build it. Now in this case, I'm thinking of including kind of like the redwood trees over there, just some sort of pine tree, because those are everywhere, regardless of the actual biome you're in. I know Minecraft makes it appear that they're only in cold places, but in reality, I mean, I could probably find a pine tree within 5 minutes of where I am, and it's not exactly cold outside right now. So yes, this is a great way to sort of template out how your trees can look. Now, of course, I am in modded here, but this principle applies to vanilla Minecraft too. I'll be able to achieve some different details in modded here, but it's not like they're unattainable in vanilla. There are many people who have built wonderful looking custom trees in the vanilla, so yeah. I think this is the kind of shape I'm going for. I might thin this out a little bit, but yeah. So I shall get back to working on a custom tree here now that I have a template. Alright, it's a new day, but last night I actually did complete the tree here. I had to adjust it slightly, I'm pretty sure, from the original template. I can't quite remember. But yeah, it came out pretty good here. I've used like quite a few frame blocks you can see at the top there for these branches. But yeah, it came out pretty well. If I hop on some scaffold here, I can... It goes pretty high up. As you can see, a little higher than the current state of the house, but the house is probably going to have some roof and then like a sort of attic space before it has more roof, so it'll be just shorter than the house essentially. Additionally, last night I also did complete this little shelter here. I just have lanterns on either side with this fir and then the rose azalea that we used to use over there. It looks alright. It's just like a nice little shelter is all it's really meant to be. Also cleared out some space this way because we're going to be putting an iron farm over here using golems. And I actually went ahead and read up on the spawning mechanics of golems. I actually have my garage open here, so that I can plan this out better. The way villagers in Java Edition attempt to spawn golems is they will look at a column of space within a 16 by 16 area around them, and they'll take the topmost block that is a valid spawning position and spawn it there if they can. So what this means is we can have a building relatively low as long as it's large enough to contain the spawning, but it needs to be tall enough where the roof is not going to be spawnable for the golems. Additionally, villagers are dependent on actually seeing golems, so if they see a golem nearby, then they will not attempt to spawn one every 30 seconds, I think it was. So we need to try to get these golems as far away as possible from them as quick as possible. Now the traditional loadout, or layout rather, of a golem farm is you have like a zombie or a pillager here. I'm unsure of which we'll use here. Then you have, I think it's 2 blocks away, you have the beds and such. Here, 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 and here. I'll double check on the actual design of this part, and there's some other things to it. But then that means we have to basically take this and then add, let's see, it's 16 by 16 centered, or plus a 17 by 17 centered on the villager. So 1, 2, 4, 6, this, 8. So we kind of have to have a fairly large building here, is what I'm trying to point out here. If I go to the map here, you can kind of see that it basically needs to be about that large. And I'm thinking I want to actually put a few in tandem. So like here, we'll have one here and then another one next to it, kind of thing, so it'll be a fairly large building. I'll probably clear out more bushes over here so I can expand it that way. But yeah, I'm gonna have to get to work on actually templating this out, and once I do, I will come back and show it. Alright, so I have completed a template of this farm. It's actually, it's based on a few designs, but the premise is fairly simple. This is just the template, but right here we'll have a zombie or pillager on each of these cobblestone blocks in the center here. And then these oak planks represent where villagers are. So we're going to have like 3 units of this essentially. Now the inner oak space around here you can kind of see templated. That represents the whole potential spawn area of golems. So the cobblestone will be where the wall is. Now to actually get these golems, out of the way quickly, I was thinking we'd use create fans actually, which it'll require quite a bit of iron, these encased fans, but we should be able to push, like basically space them out so every other block has a fan. And then I'm thinking we push these towards the center, and then we'll just have like a trough in the center essentially for them to fall into. And from there we can move them around to kill them. So I think this these zombie platforms or villager platforms, they need to be raised up by let's see, maybe this high, because villagers will check within ±16 blocks of their location, but they can only spawn ±, I think it's 6 blocks, something like that, 5 blocks maybe. So we'll have to have a platform somewhere, but then they drop below. And I'm thinking this will definitely be sunk into the ground a little bit, because otherwise it'd be a very tall building. So I think about here is right, because that's, let's see here, if we have our spawning platform like here, let's say here, then that means, oh hello, no, oh, you actually have a beacon, damn. So if we have our spawning platform here, it'll be basically right above us in the interior. They will drop down the center here. So we'll need, ideally we'd want to raise this by however many blocks it is. In fact, I'm going to check this real quick. Yeah, ±6 on the y-axis. So we basically, for safety, maybe keep it 5, but let's see here. So that's 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go up. So I think we actually want the... I think we'll put the zombie here, right? So then our villagers are sitting at the same level. Put this way. So it'll be basically laid out like this for all 3 of these, and there will be blocks, like solid blocks, to separate between them, so there isn't any issues there. I'm pretty sure using 4 villagers like this should work. I'm not entirely sure why it wouldn't. I know a lot of iron farms tend to only use 3, but that's not 100% necessary here, because that's usually because it's a beginner farm essentially, and we're certainly well along the way. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get these all set up and probably start lining the walls with fans. We're gonna design the building after the fact, much like what we did with the oak farm, because the actual mechanical parts is usually where the difficulty comes. So if you can design the building second, you can have like an idea of what you want it to look like, but it's easier to design a building around the space you have as opposed to design the thing inside of a building, because usually that can mean you're way too constrained. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and work on this. Alright, so this took quite a bit of time, but I am proud to say that we now have a working iron farm. This took so much effort, especially getting the zombies. That was the most annoying part, I'd say. But it's here. It's working. I just saw that it was spawning iron golems. I'm hoping yep, there is 3 in fact. Now the only thing I haven't done is actually hook up these fans, because that's going to be a whole process, and I'm going to need to give it stress unit power, which I'm probably going to give like windmills on both sides of this building, or maybe just the front or something like that. I think that'll look really cool, and also allow us to make this function pretty well. Let me just light up some of the area here. Oops. But yeah, it's working. I'm super happy with how it came out, because considering I didn't test this in a creative world. I just strictly used my understanding of Iron Golem's spawning mechanics. I thought I heard a noise. And from there, we're able to design this, I kind of want to call it the razor blade, because if you look from the top, it kind of has the shape of a razor blade, but yeah, it's working pretty well. Now, this episode is running rather long by this point, so I think that is going to do it for this time. So, let's see here. Today we got iron, and I guess poppies technically as well. And maybe there's some modded drops iron golems have, I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, it's working so good. This will be such an excellent resource this early on. And it's not even done yet, and I think next episode we will try to hook up these create fans so that it can work a bit faster. Because what it'll do is it'll blow the iron golems into the center hole, and there's 2 there and 2 there as well, making it so that the iron golems get out of the way faster, just to make sure that by the time they can spawn a golem again, they can do it immediately. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time. Blah, 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 blah. 1, 2, 3, 20.